Editorial today, trying to find a cause for hope in these dark days. Basically, they're trying to find reasons to get British readers to support Europe, and they do point out that the EU has done a lot of good things for environmental regulation, for humanitarian projects around the world, and they say that the euro and the European social model can still survive into the later 21st century.
And the papers are also looking at how Europeans view each other.
Yes, there's an interesting piece in The Guardian on how EU leaders are seen by their fellow Europeans. We've got those caricatures of Cameron and Sarkozy there. So on the left hand, you've got what the French think of Cameron. It's a Le Monde journalist who says...
He's missing half a face.
He is missing half a face, rather, there. They say at the bottom that the French initially welcomed Cameron, thinking he was more of a Tory moderate on things like Europe, of course. He's turned out to be more hardline than Thatcher as far as they see him. And they say he epitomises the British stereotype of an elite only wanting to socialise with one another and ignoring other people, whereas on the other side you've got Sarkozy there, and what some British journalists think of him. They say the one thing that most of the British public remember about him is that he wears stacked heels, and of course is married to Carla Bruni, and they say British diplomats say that his impulsiveness makes him very difficult to work with. And over in El País, they're having a look at some of the stereotypes that we have about our ordinary fellow citizens. Apparently, polls reveal that lots of Europeans do still think that the Spanish are lazy, that the Germans have no sense of humour, that Brits are very nostalgic and think all the time about their past glories, that the Italians run away from danger, as perhaps epitomised by the captain of the Costa Concordia, the paper suggests, and finally that the French are incredibly vain.
And briefly, today is Australia Day.
It is, but Julia Gillard perhaps not celebrating with too much, the Sydney Morning Herald says. This morning she had to be rushed out of a restaurant in Canberra after it was besieged by Aboriginal protesters. Now, they're angry because they say the role of Aborigines in Australia's history still isn't being properly recognised. Apparently there's still elements in the Australian Constitution that allow states to discriminate against Aborigines, and Gillard only just this last weekend suggested a referendum to get rid of those, but the Aboriginal rights groups say they've still not gone far enough.
Not a very happy Australia Day then for the Australian Prime Minister. Thank you very much for that look at the international press, Elena. You're watching live from Paris. Still to come, precarious Portugal, soaring borrowing costs put Lisbon alongside